Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today I'm building Ninja Sex Party, Danny Sexbang and Ninja Brian. After the build, be sure to check out my channel to vote for the next one, and hey, maybe check out my Patreon too, if you want. So what do we want for Sir Daniel Sexbang? Well, we need to put on an incredible show. Great music, plenty of showmanship, the ability to bone anyone who's willing, all things necessary to be a rock star. We also need to be exceptionally durable. Danny gets hurt quite a lot during his adventures, and though admittedly a lot of it is his own fault to some extent, he always gets back up. And we'll need some of the more overtly magical elements of his songs. Even setting aside the ones that are dreams or possibly exaggerated like Unicorn Wizard and Dragon Slayer, Danny has communed with gods and monsters and can even fly. Looking over at ability scores, I'll be using the standard point array. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, just make sure your dexterity, wisdom, and charisma are high enough to multiclass. Starting off with a 10 in strength. If putting donuts on the barbell makes it too heavy for us to bench press, lifting is not exactly a focus for us. Dexterity's 13, can't be the toughest ninja we've ever seen without it. Then Constitution will be 14. Danny can take hits from Ninja Brian, and he gets seriously injured in a lot of videos. We can dump intelligence, we tend to think more with our heart, or other things, than with our head. So Wisdom can be 12. And we'll finish off with a 15 in Charisma, for our ethereal beauty and supreme confidence. Danny is human, as far as we know, so we get +1 to all of our stats. He was also a ninja who toppled kings before deciding to focus on music, so it isn't too far of a stretch to say that in D&D terms, he'd be an agent of the Harper faction. That gives us insight and investigation, but since a lot of Harpers are bards, we'll switch investigation out for performance. I'd also like to grab proficiency with chess, since that is a thing Danny has been seen to be good at. We are a former ninja and we do know some kung fu, so we'll start off as a monk to get martial arts. We deal a d4 of damage with our unarmed strikes, we can use dexterity instead of strength for them, and when we take the attack action, we can make an unarmed strike as a bonus action. We also get 2 skills from the monk list, like athletics and stealth. We learn to play the bass, and our unarmored defense makes our AC 10 plus our dexterity and wisdom. Danny does put on armor sometimes, especially for the more fantastic adventures, but the majority of the time he's in normal clothes, or his signature skin-tight unitard and cape. An ensemble that he also has a miniature version of for his nuts, ever since he became a Tempest Domain Cleric by praying to Odin to infuse them with the power of 1,000 suns. Multiclassing into Cleric gives us up to medium armor proficiency, and Tempest Domain gives us heavy, as well as martial weapons, so we can pick up a sword. A number of times per day equal to our wisdom modifier. We can thrust thunder and lightning at a creature within 5 feet when they hit us with an attack. The creature makes a dexterity save, taking 2d8 of our choice of thunder or lightning damage on a fail, half that on a success. I'm not overly interested in cleric cantrips for Danny, but we can get guidance, resistance, and spare the dying at least. Thunder Wave from our domain list imbues 1 ball with the strength to smash, blasting a 15-foot cube with thunder that deals damage and pushes enemies 10 feet on a failed constitution save. And our other domain spell, Fog Cloud, adds a sick fog machine to our show. As a cleric, we also have access to Detect Poison and Disease, for a quick and easy STD screening. His name may be Sexbang, but that's no reason not to be safe about it. At 2nd level, we can channel Divinity once per rest. Turn Undead is the standard cleric option, making undead within 30 feet run away if they failed their wisdom save, and Tempest clerics have Destructive Wrath, which maxes out 1 roll of thunder or lightning damage that we make. But sometimes our mighty balls just aren't enough, and we have to release the Kraken as a fathomless warlock. We can breathe underwater and have a 40-foot swim speed, and we can unleash the monster's tentacles as a bonus action a number of times per day equal to our proficiency. We summon the tentacle to a space within 60 feet. It's 10 feet long, and we can have it attack a creature, dealing 1d8 cold damage and reducing their speed by 10 feet for a turn. As a bonus action while it's out, we can move it up to 30 feet and then have it attack again. Now, Danny has been known to thrust so hard he fires off beams of energy, so we'll grab Eldritch Blast for some dick lasers. Then Friends can make us seem momentarily charming to a creature, but we inevitably say something bizarre or try a bit too hard or, talk about dick lasers, and they lose interest or become outright hostile, so we'll need Expeditious Retreat to run away. Witch Bolt is a counterpart to Thunder Wave, giving the other ball the power to electrify. We shoot a bolt of lightning at a creature, dealing 1d12 damage on a hit, then we can use our action on each following turn to deal that damage automatically, no attack roll required. But of course, the vast majority of the build will be Bard. We get a skill and a musical instrument for switching into Bard, I'll say Persuasion and Vocal Training. Then Bardic Inspiration is a pool of d6s we can hand out to our friends to add to their attacks, ability checks, and saves. For spells, Dancing Lights can provide some nice mood lighting, and Prestidigitation can keep things fresh and clean. Unearthly Chorus calls in our buddies from Twerp for instrumentation, giving us advantage on performance checks and letting us beguile creatures with our sweet jams. Every turn we can use our bonus action to force a charisma save on a creature. On a fail, they like our music so much they're friendly as long as they can hear it, and then for an entire hour afterward, giving us advantage on persuasion and deception checks against them. We'll need Comprehend Languages when we go on our road trip, Featherfall can cut any damage we take from Brian knocking us off a cliff, and Heroism makes us immune to being frightened along with giving us temporary HP every round. There's a lot of scary things out there, but Danny would do just about anything for a taste of some peppermint creams. Second level bards get Jack of all trades, so we can impress women with our variety of hobbies, and Song of Rest provides some healing while we recover from a Night of Passion, adding an extra d6 to any HP our allies get from hit dice during a short rest. There really aren't any more first level bard spells I want, but we can take Thunderwave here so we can cast it with our Charisma instead of with our Wisdom. We can bump Stealth and Performance up to Expertise as a third level, and lean hard into the glam rock aesthetic with the College of Glamour. With Mantle of Inspiration, we can burn a use of our Bardic Inspiration to give temporary HP to a number of creatures up to our Charisma modifier. They get 5 temp HP and can immediately use their reaction to move up to their speed without opportunity attacks. Brian's pretty fast, so this can get him across a battlefield lickety-split. And we can put on an enthralling performance once per rest to try to charm a number of creatures again up to our Charisma modifier. If they fail a Wisdom save, they're charmed by us for up to an hour, or if they get snapped out of it. While charmed, they idolize us and recommend us to all of their friends. By the way, on a side note, if you haven't actually listened to NSP, you really should, they're fantastic. Our spell at this level is Mirror Image. Now this is conventionally used to create duplicates that can take hits for us, but since the duplicates imitate our actions, I assume they can speak, meaning we can call up clones of ourselves to harmonize with and really get those nice layered vocals. Danny's so durable, it almost seems like he's sometimes replaced by a doll who can't feel pain, so we'll take the Tough feat for an extra 2 HP per level. Then Lesser Restoration can ensure we have safe sex by clearing out any pesky diseases that could cramp our style. And there's any number of uses for Mage Hand in the bedroom, just use your imagination. At 5th level, our Bardic Inspiration die bumps up to a d8, the temp HP from Mantle of Inspiration goes up to 8, and we get all of our inspiration dice back on any rest, not just long ones. We can also make a motivational speech, hyping up our friends and lovers, even if what we're saying is completely ridiculous. Really, it's the tone that matters. And the magic, I guess. Up to 5 creatures get 5 temporary HP and advantage on Wisdom saves. And if they're hit with an attack, they get advantage on their next attack. The spell lasts for an hour, or until a creature loses all the temporary HP they got from it. Then it ends on just that creature. Tongues is a 3rd level spell that works like Comprehend Languages, but it also lets other people understand us. We went almost 5,000 years in the future and could still hold a conversation with the Dick Elders. That has to be magic. Counter Charm uses the power of our music to drive away fear and doubt, giving us and allies within 30 feet advantage on saves against charming and frightening. And once per day we can use Mantle of Majesty to cast Command as a bonus action every turn without using spell slots for up to a minute. We just become so beautiful that people want to serve us, and any creature we command who is already charmed by us automatically fails their save against the command. Charm Monster can rock so hard our music can charm anything, not just humanoids, and since we got those cleric levels earlier, we can upcast it with a 5th level spell to affect both Rhinoceratops and Super Puma, as long as they're within 30 feet of each other. We'll pick up the Chef feat at 8th level to construct the ultimate sandwich. That'll round off our constitution to 16, give us proficiency with cook's utensils, and let us cook food. On a short rest, we can make enough for a whole orgy's worth of people, 4 plus our proficiency, adding an extra d8 to any hit die healing they take during the rest. Then on a long rest, or with an hour of work, we can make a number of snackies up to our proficiency bonus that can be eaten to give temporary HP equal to our proficiency. No word on if they have to be eaten in the shower, or if they can just be eaten normally. Danny seems to be able to appear wherever he wants to if it fits the narrative of a song, which is either ninja skills, or teleportation, or, just both. We've already got stealth expertise, so we'll grab Dimension Door here to cover all of our bases. Our Song of Rest die bumps up to a d8 at level 9, so if we sing while we cook, that's an extra 2d8 healing to a good crowd of people. Not too shabby. And since several NSP songs include recounting the details of fantastic adventures, we can use Legend Lore to get backstory for the parts we weren't there for. Our Bardic Inspiration die increases to a d10, and our Mantle of Inspiration gives 11 temporary HP at 10th level. Then we can pick 2 more expertises, like Athletics and Persuasion. Mending can repair our tearaway pants, and we get 2 magical secrets. Spells from any list that count as bard spells for us. First up is Fly. Danny can fly in a surprising number of videos, probably from eating a bird whole to absorb its power. And Find Vehicle can give us our very own car with a kick-and AM radio. At 11th level, Enthrall can distract creatures so they don't notice the ninja sneaking up behind them, and since we have 7th level spell slots now, we can upcast Find Vehicle to summon any kind of vehicle, even a suggestively shaped time machine spaceship. We'll bump Charisma with our 12th level ASI, then our Song of Rest die will increase once more to a D10 at 13th level, and Pyrotechnics is kind of the NSP of spells if you really think about it. We can either make a bright, flashy fireworks display to distract and amaze, or a cloud of smoke to conceal and creep through. 14th level Glamour Bards have Unbreakable Majesty. We permanently look more lovely, fierce, and otherworldly. Honestly, it could just be a bit of permanent eyeliner. Also, once per rest as a bonus action, we can become magically majestic for up to a minute with some flashy face paint. If a creature tries to attack us, they have to pass a Charisma save first. If they fail, they can't attack us this turn and have to either attack someone else or just lose the action. And even if they do save so that they can attack us that turn, they then get disadvantage on saves against our spells for the turn. So it's a win-win either way, really. Which we can take full advantage of with our next two magical secrets, as our Mighty Balls reach their full potential with Lightning Bolt and Destructive Wave. Lightning Bolt is a 100-foot line of lightning that deals 8d6 damage on a failed dexterity save, half on a success, and Destructive Wave blasts a 30-foot radius around us, dealing 5d6 thunder and 5d6 radiant on a failed con save, as well as knocking the creatures prone. Technically it's our choice of radiant or necrotic, but obviously our Orbs of Might are made of radiant light, so that's the correct choice. Our Bardic Inspiration die and Mantle of Majesty temporary HP go up one more time at 15th level to a D12 and 14 respectively, and Glibness makes it so we can't roll lower than a 15 on any Charisma checks for an hour. It also makes us register as being truthful to lie detecting magic, so hey, maybe someone will actually believe our Dragon Slayer story is true for once. Our capstone is nice and simple, one last ASI to cap off our Charisma, since Danny Sexbang really is unfairly attractive. Alright, so now that the build is complete, let's take a quick look at the character sheet and see what we have done. So taking a look, I would say our biggest strength is probably our durability. We do have a fairly hefty amount of HP, ranging from 127 to 260, depending on how you roll. Our AC is not great, so that does offset that a little bit, but our low AC is offset by Unbreakable Majesty, which can turn enemy attacks away from us unless they pass a DC 19 Charisma save. We're also pretty good at supporting our allies. I didn't give Danny a lot of healing in terms of spells, like Cure Wounds and Healing Word, although bards do have access to those, just because that's not really a thing that Danny has ever been seen to do. But he does have good healing during short rests with the Cooking from the Chef Feat and Song of Rest. And we actually have a lot of ways to give other people temporary HP. So we have Motivational Speech, we have the Snacks from the Chef Feat, we have our Mantle of Majesty, or Mantle of Inspiration, sorry. So we really are keyed as a more support-oriented bard. And of course, helping that we have capped off Charisma, meaning that we have 5 Bardic Inspiration dice per rest that we can hand out to boost our teammates' rolls. So all in all, I think Danny turned out fairly successful. So moving on now to Ninja Brian. So what do we want for him? Well, as the name implies, Ninja Brian is in fact a ninja. That means we need to be fast and deadly, along with having other ninja tricks to help us sneak around and get the drop on enemies. One way we can do that is with the actual, more historically accurate ninja method, which is disguising ourselves as someone who will go overlooked, like a worker, a janitor, a mailman, zookeeper, that sort of thing, so we look like we belong. But honestly, overall, Brian just tends to be more generally competent than Danny. Danny's the face of the team, but Brian is the one who actually solves the problems that Danny gets them into, when he's not just, watching and applauding sarcastically, of course. Looking over at ability scores, I will be rolling for stats. Am I doing that because I fear retaliation by a psychotic ninja if I give him low ability scores? I'm not saying that's not the case. Multiclassing minimums for this one are Wisdom and Dexterity, so keep those in mind. We'll start off with a lucky roll, an 18 in Strength. Brian can catch a car without flinching. He's also faster than light. That's not a thing we can do in D&D without teleporting, but we can at least give Dexterity to this other 18 that I rolled. Constitution can take this third 18. The man can eat a hot pepper, then stare down a camera for 4 minutes without blinking. Then this next 18 can go to Intelligence. I've heard he has a PhD. Wisdom gets the fifth 18. He's the silent, judgmental voice of reason, except when it comes to murder, and we'll finish up with one last 18 in Charisma. For someone who never speaks, he has no problem getting his point across. Violence really is the universal language. Ninja Brian is ostensibly human, not some kind of Superman, so we'll get +1 to all of our ability scores. Then we'll go with the entertainer background. If Danny can be a ninja turned musician, why can't Brian be a musician turned ninja? We get proficiency in acrobatics and performance, along with disguise kits and a musical instrument. I'll say keyboard instruments, to include piano, electric keyboard, and of course, the keytar. We'll start off as a rogue, since in addition to Thieves' Tools and Thieves' Can't, they get the most skills. 4 skills to be exact, from a decently expansive list. Our picks are Athletics, Stealth, Intimidation, and Perception. Then we'll bump Performance and Intimidation up to Expertises. Rogues can make sneak attacks, adding an extra d6 of damage to a finesse or ranged weapon we hit with once per turn, as long as there was an ally within 5 feet of the target or we had advantage. We're never too far from Danny, so we should usually have an ally to use as a distraction. Cunning action at 2nd level boosts our speed by letting us dash as a bonus action. We can also disengage or hide, but it's more our style to just kill our enemies than to hide from them. Our sneak attack goes up to 2d6 at level 3, and it'll keep increasing with every odd-numbered rogue level. We also become an assassin, as befits a ninja of our abilities. We get proficiency with the Poisoner's Kit, so we can make our own blow darts, and we're especially deadly against creatures who don't see us coming, as we have advantage on attacks against anyone who hasn't acted yet in the combat, and any hit we land on a surprise creature is automatically a crit. Ninja Brian has a history of using other people as weapons to beat and stab enemies to death with, so we'll pick up the Tavern Brawler feat to get proficiency with improvised weapons. That'll also cap off our strength, make our unarmed strikes deal a d4 of damage, and let us use a bonus action to try to grapple a creature we hit with an unarmed strike or improvised weapon. Uncanny Dodge uses our reaction to halve damage from an incoming attack that hits us, and our sneak attack hits 3d6 damage. We get 2 more expertises next, I'll say Athletics and Stealth. If we're stealthy enough, we can backstab the person who thinks they're sneaking up on us. Sneak attack will go up to 4d6 at level 7, and evasion does for dex saves what Uncanny Dodge does for attacks. I mean, not literally, there's some differences, but, thematically. Evasion makes it so we only take half damage when we fail a dexterity save, and none at all on a success, rather than full on a fail and half on a success. Brian may or may not be unkillable. We haven't actually seen him get seriously injured, certainly not as much as Danny has, so we'll grab Resilient to cap off our Constitution and give us proficiency in con saves. Then we'll cap off our sneak attack damage at 5d6 and pick up Infiltration expertise. With a week's work and some gold, we can make a fake identity that we can slip into whenever we want. Ninja Brian is a man of mystery, so he's established multiple fake identities throughout time. From a mailman or zookeeper to an average citizen of 6969, or even as mild-mannered physicist Brian Wecht. Of course, we all know his real identity. Switching gears for a moment, we'll take a quick 1-level dip into Cleric, and since we're disguising as a physicist, we need the studies to back it up. So the knowledge domain will give us not just proficiency, but expertise in arcana and nature. Remember that PhD I was talking about? Yeah. Mostly though, we're here for the spells. Spare the Dying lets us decide who lives and who dies. Sacred Flame gives us Brian's signature laser eyes. And Light, well, light just helps us read when it's dark, but that's useful too. During the quest for the Mystic Crystal, Brian carried blessed arrows that were meant to show the way to Mount Nasty. So Guiding Hand fits, as a magical hand that points the way to a landmark. Of course, Brian managed to redirect the arrows through sheer force of will and indomitable spite, so they went straight for Danny, turning the Guiding Hand into Guiding Bolt, a ranged spell attack that deals radiant damage and gives the next attack against the target advantage. For domain spells, Command might be a bit tricky to use since we don't generally speak, but Identify is useful, and Brian generally seems to be more in the know than Danny at all times. We'll finish off the rest of the build as a monk. Martial Arts lets us make an unarmed strike as a bonus action after taking the attack action, and lets us use our dexterity for them instead of strength. Doesn't make our unarmed strikes finesse, so we could use them with sneak attack unfortunately, but Brian has no issues using weapons. He has used swords and knives multiple times, so I'll let it go this time. He doesn't wear armor though, so unarmored defense will add our wisdom modifier to our AC, making it 10 plus dex plus whiz. And unarmored movement makes us faster, increasing our speed by 10 feet while bereft of armor. We also get Ki, a pool of points that refills on every rest that we can use to do ninja things. Step of the Wind is a bonus action dash or disengage, but we can already do that with cunning actions, so it's not super useful. It does also double our jump distance for the turn though, in case that comes up. Patient Defense is a bonus action dodge, and Flurry of Blows makes 2 unarmed strikes after attacking instead of the normal 1 that we get from martial arts. The Way of Shadow is the most ninja of the monk subclasses, giving us Minor Illusion and letting us spend 2 key points to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence as an action. We can also deflect missiles, using our reaction to reduce damage from an incoming projectile by 1d10 plus our dex and monk level. If that reduces the damage to 0, we can even catch it and throw it back as a monk weapon. Dexterity and Wisdom are both pretty important for monks, so we'll cap those off with our 4th level ASI, and get Slow Fall to reduce any falling damage we take by 5 times our monk level. Our unarmed strike damage increases to 1d6 at 5th level. It makes sense that our attacks are stronger than Danny's. He got out of the ninja game a while ago. Well, we're still kicking, pun intended. And speaking of kicking, we can do that twice per attack action now. And we can burn a key point on a hit to force a Constitution save, stunning the target for a turn on a fail. Now I have great confidence in Brian's ability to kill almost anything with his bare hands, a belief reinforced by his bare hands counting as magical to bypass resistances. He also gets faster here, getting an extra 5 feet of movement, along with outright teleportation in Shadow Step. As a bonus action, if we're standing in dim light or darkness, we can teleport up to 60 feet to another patch of dim light or darkness. Then we get advantage on the first melee attack we make that turn. We would normally get evasion at 7th level, but we already have it, and they don't stack, so we'll have to content ourselves with Stillness of Mind, which lets us end an effect of charming or frightening on ourselves as an action. Ninja Brian fears no man or beast, and he is seemingly immune to Danny Sexbang's charms, which, not the easiest thing in the world. With our last ASI, we'll cap off Intelligence and Charisma, then at 9th level we can run up walls and across water. Our capstone is the 10th level of Monk. Our unarmored movement goes up a further 5 feet for a total of plus 20, and Purity of Body makes us immune to poison and disease. Finally settling once and for all that Brian does not have an STD. Now that the build's complete, how good is this one? Well, turns out having 20s in every stat is kind of good. We have a plus 5 to all of our ability scores. We have 3 saving throw proficiencies. Funnily enough, we actually have the same HP spread as Danny. So that's interesting. We're just as durable. Our AC is a lot higher though, thanks to Dexterity and Wisdom both being 20. Our AC is 10 plus 5 plus 5, so we have 20 AC. One thing we have going for us is a really good line for damage. If we're not in combat, we can use Shadow Step to teleport up to 60 feet to the person that we want to kill, get advantage on our first melee attack because of how Shadow Step works, stab them in the back with, say, a short sword, a finesse weapon so we get our sneak attack, and since they're not expecting it and they're surprised, we auto-crit, doubling all of our damage dice, including the sneak attack damage, resulting in 12d6 plus 5 damage. Now that won't kill everything, but it will kill a lot of things. And if it doesn't kill them, then we can make it a stunning strike and attack again. Also, just like Danny has his Unbreakable Majesty to pad out his already pretty good hit points, we have Deflect Missiles to reduce damage, Uncanny Dodge to reduce damage, and Evasion to either reduce or outright ignore damage from dexterity saves. One thing that we are a little bit lacking in, we don't really have anything for range, which could be an issue. The best options we have for range at the moment are, if they're in dim light or darkness, we can teleport up to 60 feet to get close to them, or we can actually use Step of the Wind to double our jump distance and try to jump to them, but that's not the most reliable. So we might have to rely on Danny for range and us for, up close and on the ground. One thing that we're really, really good at is immobilizing enemies. Stunning Strike alone is a DC 19 con save to stun the target every time we hit with a melee attack. And the grapple from Tavern Brawler is actually surprisingly relevant, because we have capped off strength and expertise in athletics. So we're grappling with a minimum of 18 if we roll a natural 1. Thank you for watching, friends. I hope you enjoyed the builds. Head on over to my community tab if you want to vote for the next character for me to do. This week is Take 2 for the poll between Kaito Joker, Kukulin, Fate's Day Knight's Lancer, Saga of Saint Seiya, and our previous runner-up, TF2 Scout. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below, and they could show up in a future poll. Leave a like or subscribe if you want to see more, and if you want to support what I'm doing here, you can check the description for the link to my Patreon, for access to the Discord channel, early access to future builds, and exclusive Patreon content. Thanks again for watching. I will see y'all later.